Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel. Cayman's bigger, better network.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you.
For the record.
Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees. So fair. Today is Wednesday, the first day of November 2023, November 1st. Getting a little late start this morning, but happy to be on the air. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, the life you save may be your own. For those of you celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday and to remind you that the For the Record birthday shout-outs are brought to you by Pizza Boat. Pizza Boat, they're now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road, so hop on board the Pizza Boat Express. Pizza Boat, they make pizza even more fun. Why? Because you can also pick your pizza up or have it delivered. You simply call 949-0000 or you can order online via www.pizzaboat.ky. Those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing. This morning, we want to particularly extend our sincere condolences to the family of Awawa. Also, we call her Awawa, Miss Alverni, who unfortunately passed away yesterday. Another icon in the Cayman Islands, another icon for the Rock Hole area, for Georgetown as well. And we will have more to say about Miss Alverni or Awawa, future dates as well. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery as well. So, folks, want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. This morning, phone lines open 949-8037, 949-6990, WhatsApp 925-3261. You can call on that number as well as send us WhatsApp messages. But we're going to ask you to hold off on those phone calls for now. We're going to be talking about the what some people call it Pauper Day. Some people call it Remembrance Day. Some people call it Armistice Day as well. That conversation is going to take place with Mr. Loxley Banks, and we also will have Mr. Andrew McLaughlin in the studio with us as well. So that will be coming up right after we do these birthday shout-outs. So we have this one, Mr. Woodrow, also known as Freco E. Banks. happy birthday greetings, going out to him, coming from his sister Charlene. So, Woodrow Ebanks, also known as Freckle, happy birthday greetings going out to you. Also, we see Mr. Rudy Dixon is celebrating his birthday today, as well as Miss Ventisha Connolly. Happy birthday to them. And tomorrow, Miss Verlene Kelly will be celebrating her birthday as well. And to remind you again that For the Record birthday shout-outs brought to you by Pizza Boat. Pizza Boat. They're now open on Queens Court on West Bay Road. So hop on board the Pizza Boat Express because they make pizza even more fun. You can have your pizza delivered, or you can pick it up. Simply call 949-0000 or order online via www.pizzaboat.ky. Miss Susan, we're going to take the commercial break now so that when we return, we can go right into the 8 o'clock news. Folks, please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Always separate debris from household garbage after a hurricane hits. Debris includes roofing materials, downed tree branches, and metals. All items of debris must be placed in separate piles to the front of the property or at a side that is easily accessible to collection trucks. Debris must be placed in a location that will not cause obstruction to roadways or come in contact with electrical lines.
For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DAH website at www.gov.ky/DAH.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
George Haig Bodden, MBE, 1930 to 1995.
George Haig Bodden, MBE. Mr. Haig served as an assistant teacher at the Georgetown School and from 1948 to 1954 was in charge of the Breakers School. Between 1959 and 1964, he worked for HM Customs. He was the first Caymanian to become a chartered life underwriter and was a lifetime member of the prestigious $1 Million Round Table. He played a leading role in the Boddentown Presbyterian Church concerts, which were very popular, especially during garden parties. Mr. Haig entered Boddentown politics in 1972 and served as an MLA until his death, except for a short break from 1988 to 1990. He served on EXCO from 1976 to 1984 and was responsible for creating the Maritime Conservation Law of 1978 and for establishing the Water Authority. The cadastral survey was also completed during his tenure. He was named Deputy Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. Most of his adult life was dedicated to the service of his country, for which he was awarded the MBE by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in 1995. He was married to Loreline Nee Powell, and the couple had 3 children.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
International Diabetes Federation records reflect 6.1 adults aged 20 to 79 years old in the Cayman Islands live with diabetes. 537 million adults the world over live with diabetes. November is World Diabetes Awareness Month. November 14th is World Diabetes Awareness Day, marking the birthday of Dr. Frederick Banting, the insulin co-discoverer. We, Rotary Central, along with the Health Services Authority, invite you to a free health screening: blood sugar, cholesterol, blood pressure, hemoglobin, A1C, BMI, and free physician's consultation. Saturday, November 4th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. 2 convenient locations: A.L. Thompson's Georgetown, Cost-you-less Governor Square, West Bay Road. Mark this date that could change your life for better. Rotary Health Check, Saturday, November 4th. Rotary, creating hope in the world.
Ready for more fun, more data, and endless connections? Digicel's all-new postpaid plans got you covered. Get more entertainment data for Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. Endless social data for WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. And more international minutes than ever before. Stay connected on the fastest, most reliable network in Cayman. Make the switch today. Digicel. Better connected.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
I love Pizza Boat. It's yummy.
It has my two favorite things combined, cheese and boats.
Pizza Boat makes pizza way more fun.
Hop on board the Pizza Boat Express. Kids, now Pizza Boat makes pizza even more fun. Lunch or dinner, let Pizza Boat bring the fun. Pizza Boat, a Cayman twist to pizza, bringing fusion ingredients from all over the globe to give you locally inspired fresh pizzas all day, every day. Pizza Boat, now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road. Pick up or delivery 949-0000 or order online www.pizzaboat.ky.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Mr. Loxley Banks from the Veterans Association here in the Cayman Islands. We're going to be talking about Poppy Day or Remembrance Day as well, which is celebrated on the 11th of November. Of course, the holiday here in the Cayman Islands will be on the Monday, the 13th of November, as well. Mr. Loxley, I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
Well, good to be with you, OC. And, in Remembrance Day, in just about, 10 days. November the 11th, actually, it falls on a Saturday this year, I believe.
Yes.
And the Poppy Appeal, as you mentioned, that's in progress. And actually today, the 1st of November, there will be representation from the Cayman Islands Veterans Association at Foster's at the airport, and also, I believe, at Kirk's Market there on Eastern Avenue with their poppy cans. And, thinking back, Poppy Day was always a quite significant day here in Cayman. When I was, I was still in what you'd call grade school, I run around West Bay trying to those days it was more of a cell approach.
Yes,
you know?
yes. And some jurisdictions still do that. I see where Bermuda, they still actually sell their poppies, whereas here in Cayman, now we just request a donation.
Yeah, if you can, donate, but wear the poppy in remembrance
Yes.
of. And, that all ties in with what those folks or veterans did to preserve the democracy in which we live here today. And it's too bad that too many of those who live among us really don't know much about it.
Yeah.
But, and throughout the program, we'll have a few actualities from some of the men who was in the war, who suffered and sacrificed, and some of them gave their lives. And we got one coming up in just a few seconds here, and it's Mr. Elgin Scott. And I believe all the Caymanians who were in the wars, actually on the battlefields, his experience was probably, as I know it anyway, and as he described it to me, the most horrifying. And we've got it's just a 4-minute narrative here by he himself telling about what happened, his situation. And if you listen closely, because his voice at the time that this was recorded was not all that clear, but listen closely and you'll hear some details, and we'll kind of bring you up to date right after you hear the cut.
Certainly. Okay, let's play that now, Miss Susan.
In this time of remembrance, Thanksgiving, and honors, the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, in cooperation with Radio Cayman and Breeze Radio, presents this short narrative by veteran Elgin Scott in reflection of his wartime experience, World War II, 1938 to 1946. When his ship was torpedoed in the dark of night in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, as he struggled in shark-infested and oil-covered waters, and German bullets, then taken as a prisoner of war for some 3 years, all in defense of freedom and democracy. Cayman Islands veteran Elgin Scott.
Troop ships, Queen Elizabeth and Mauritania, and then went down there to get fuel enough. Then unloaded that, come back to Trinidad, take oil for Gibraltar. On the way up to Trinidad, one morning I seen these lifeboats. The old captain, his suspicion, he thought was the Germans were doing a trick on him. But he kept the distance from the lifeboats were Germans inside of a ship and stuff, so he got up alongside these ships. Then the captain, the Norwegian ship, the Colorado, he said he was sunk by a German raider. Sunk me, but the ship that sunk was we took him aboard to Gibraltar, coming back from Gibraltar, where the German ship was waiting out there 700 miles from Gibraltar. And we seen him in the morning following us. He had Swedish Miracle Line painted outside the ship. He had a Swedish flag flying. And he followed us that night about 10 o'clock. Then he came up, sunk it. See, breaking all ends. Yeah. He was trying to sink her by shellfire, but he couldn't sink her because all the other tanks was nothing but air, and it was on 2 tanks, had 2,000 ton aboard. So he opened that machine gun. I seen a guy standing right alongside me. Machine gun ripped him right open, all his intestines went between his legs, hollering, it killed me, get me out of prison. Went and loaded in a lifeboat. The ship was still going half speed. And one of the guys shoot, let it go to fall, let it go to fall. The lifeboat turned bottom up, and we fell out the lifeboat. And when I got in the water, it looked as the ship was spinning around like a gate. I heard one of the guys shouting, "The shark got me, shark got me." I thought because it was so dark, I thought it was because it was scared, but no, it was shark on him. Shark at that guy, and then they think the other guy shoot. There was 4 of us, and he had the other guys were German killing over night time. And the Germans had a lifeboat out, and he come up alongside and grabbed us and hauled us in the boat. He don't know to say there would be replant sharks around it. We had so much oil, you couldn't see it was coming of this oil that way. When we got aboard the ship, the Germans had 2 big drums of kerosene open right on the ship deck with scrubbing brushes to scrub us off. Covered it out, it took about 2 of us on that. When we got aboard, they had 5 ship's crew. Yeah, that's a five ship. Ship was a Finnish sailing ship named the Calora, the world's biggest sailing ship. 6 masters ship. The crew, he boarded her and took 50 sacks of sugar off all I wanted. I figured keep her along a few bits out in the Atlantic, and then they sunk her.
Then he sunk her. The words there of Cayman Islands veteran Elgin Scott, as he spoke about some of his World War II experiences in defense and preservation of freedom and democracy. Brought to you by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Radio Cayman, and Breeze Radio. Get your poppy and wear it proudly in remembrance.
Okay, Mr. Loxley, that was quite graphic, the description that Mr. Elgin gave.
Yeah, well, as I said, I think he probably had the most devastating, whatever you want to call it, thrown at him during his imprisonment. And well, you heard how he described it when they were torpedoed out in the Atlantic, and at one of the graphics, I'm not sure how many people out there picked it up, but it was that on lowering lifeboats, a German shell went through one of his friend's body, and just everything just emptied out.
Wow!
And of course, then they found themselves in the waters, oil covered, because the ship that he was on was what we call light. It didn't have any cargo on. Their tanks were just really full with air, and the Germans tried to sink it from the surface, but it wouldn't go down for a long time. So it means that the oil that they did have on board as fuel leaked out into the waters, and the waters were covered with oil. The German lifeboat came along from the ship. Now this was what they call a German raider surface ship, not a submarine. And they took him on board, and his description was, when I got aboard there, they dumped me in a barrel of kerosene and gave me a scrub brush and say, scrub yourself off.
Wow. Okay, we've reached the top of the hour. We're going to go to our 8 o'clock news. When we return, the conversation will continue with Mr. Loxley Banks, and hopefully we'll have Mr. Andrew McLaughlin in the studio with us at that point in time as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time by Foster's is 7:59.
So it's your turn to cook tonight. What are we having?
Well, we have chicken thighs, pork chop, sirloin steak, ground chicken, or beef stir fry.
Wow, so many options.
Yeah, I got them from the Foster's Pick 5 selection. You can choose any 5 specially marked packs for $19.99. The meat is always fresh and never previously frozen. It's the perfect way to stock up for the week.
So all of this only costs $19.99?
It sure did.
Pick 5 is available at all locations, and selection may vary between stores. Foster's, better value because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Karsley Fuller. A judge's summation could wrap up as early as today in the trial of 2 men accused of murdering a retired police officer. Radio Cayman's Jevy Ebanks reports.
Justin Kyle Jackson and Eric Brian William Soto have been on trial for the past 2 weeks, charged with the murder of Harry Elliott Jr. Following the judge's summation, which outlines the evidence and the key facts of the case, the jury will also receive final legal directives from the judge regarding the applicable elements of law and application in the case. The jury of 6 men and 6 women is expected to retire and to begin their deliberations as early as Thursday, depending on how long the judge's summation and directions take to complete. Jevy Ebanks, Radio Cayman News.
Minister for Financial Services and Commerce, the Honourable Andre Ebanks, recently attended the invitation-only 2023 European Union Tax Symposium. While there, he says the Cayman delegation had the opportunity to describe its regime, gain insights into international trends, and learn the prospective direction of EU tax initiatives to keep Cayman at the forefront of these matters.
The Cayman Islands' invitation to this event and the reception we received strongly indicates that our proactive engagement approach is building mutually respectful relationships, which foster constructive dialogue with our European counterparts.
The symposium offered further opportunities to engage with EU and other members of the international financial services community, as well as representatives from UK Crown dependencies and overseas territories. It was hosted during the same week as the Financial Action Task Force plenary in Paris. And Conch and Whelk season opens today. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
Looking forward to Cayman Conch Stew. The season opens today. Marine park rules and boundaries remain in full effect at all times, and no conch or whelks may be taken from within the marine reserve, even within season. The daily catch limit is 5 conch per person, or a maximum of 10 conch per boat with 2 or more persons. In any one day, no one person may take or permit another person to take, purchase, receive, offer for sale, exchange, or donation, or possess more than 5 conch from Cayman waters. Only queen conch may be taken. The daily catch limit for whelks is 2.5 gallons in the shell, or 2.5 pounds of processed whelks per day per person. The public is encouraged to download the Cayman DOE app to instantly ensure that all fishing activities are taking place within the regulated seasons and outside the marine reserves in order to avoid violation of the rules and potential prosecution from DOE enforcement. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
Any suspicious behavior can be reported to the Department of Environment Enforcement Team on 949-8469. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller.
BBC News with Emily Thomas. Ambulances carrying seriously wounded Palestinians have crossed from southern Gaza into Egypt. It's the first time people have been able to exit the besieged territory since the current conflict between Israel and Hamas began more than 3 weeks ago. Some foreign passport holders are also being allowed to leave. Hamas says 7 of the civilian hostages it abducted last month were killed in Israeli airstrikes on Jabalia on Tuesday. It says 3 were foreign nationals. Israel has not commented. Britain is hosting a global gathering of political leaders and technology chiefs on how to control the risks posed by artificial intelligence. The meeting is taking place at Bletchley Park, where British codebreakers were based during the Second World War. Pakistan says it started to make arrests as it embarks on a nationwide campaign to remove undocumented foreign nationals. An official said more than 100,000 Afghans had already left in the past 2 weeks. Clothing factory workers in Bangladesh who are demanding a big pay rise have continued their protests. They've set up roadblocks in parts of Dhaka. 2 people have been killed since the demonstrations began last week. The Serbian president has dissolved parliament and confirmed that a snap election will be held next month. The move by Aleksandar Vučić coincides with heightened tensions with Kosovo and opposition protests in Serbia against gun violence. King Charles and Queen Camilla have met Kenyan veterans of the Second World War on the second day of their state visit. They visited a cemetery in Nairobi to honour Africans who died fighting for Britain in the last century. World News from the BBC.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
You don't sound too good there, Bobo.
Yeah, you know how it is. With the kids back in school, every other week they come in now with something, and then I catch it.
Sound like it gets you. But for real, brother, flu season is here and COVID is still around. You gotta stock up on things like medicine, vitamins, and minerals for you and the kids. You know what they say, prevention is better than cure.
At ValueMed, our pharmacists can help manage flu symptoms and provide guidance on vitamins and minerals to best support you and your family's overall health. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Town, or WhatsApp your questions and prescription refills to ValueMed on Walkers Road at 926-1662 or WhatsApp ValueMed in Town at 916-5511. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
The following presentation is from a Radio Cayman CI Retro Wattle Vault program, brought to you by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Breeze, and Radio Cayman, featuring Cayman Islands veterans Bob Soto, Loxley Banks, and Captain Dale Banks.
And I load weapons and still do.
Well, certainly the military does bring you into between the lines and point you in the right direction, most of us.
But you're an army man too, but you haven't told us anything about yourself. I want to hear about you.
Well, U.S. Air Force, 4 years.
You were the Air Force too?
Air Force, 4 years,
right.
56 to 60, and Operation Hardtack, which was a nuclear research project conducted in the mid-Pacific on a little island rock, 6,000 feet long and 2,500 feet wide, known as Johnston Island Air Force Base, to test the results of a ultra-high level of fission released in the atmosphere through the detonation of a megaton atomic bomb some miles up in the atmosphere. And quite a number of other little scrummages, but that was during the Cold War, and it was as difficult to keep the peace as it is to win the war. Yeah. And the Cold War was fought actually between the ears in the mind, because the only thing that kept everybody at bay was that Russia knew that if they started anything, the U.S. could wipe them off the map in 2.5 hours, and the U.S. had the same knowledge, so everything was kind of equalized. Freedom isn't free.
It isn't free. Somebody has to make the sacrifice.
I think strength is the only thing that is going to protect us. It was only when President Reagan decided that the U.S. was going to become strong enough that they can whip anybody in the world, or the whole world together if need be, that the Soviet Union started to collapse.
So, in this period of high levels of concern about the nuclear threat, and we're in the remembrance period of Caymanians and others who, over the years, have stood in defense and preservation of freedom and democracy. Get your puppy, wear it proudly, in honor of our Cayman Islands veterans.
Time to text the group chat. Direct flights from Grand Cayman to Barbados are officially here. Starting October 18th, you can now plan your Barbados getaway or family reunion with a non-stop flight via Cayman Airways. Weekly flights starting October 18th and twice weekly flights on Tuesdays and Thursdays begin November 7th, 2023. To book your flight today, call Cayman Airways Reservations at 1-800-422-9626 or book online at CaymanAirways.com. So pack your bags and get ready. Barbados is now closer than ever.
The 8 a.m. Weather Report, brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 84 degrees. Relative humidity is 75%. The barometric pressure is 29.85 inches and rising. The wind is out of the north-northeast at 4 knots. Overnight low temperature was 79 degrees. Synopsis indicate a gradual increase in winds and seas are expected from this afternoon as a high-pressure system moves over the southeastern United States, increasing the pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean. Satellite images show patches of shallow low-level clouds across the Cayman area. Now the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of afternoon showers, and temperatures today will be in the upper 80s. Winds will be north to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, becoming 10 to 50 knots by this evening. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Tonight we can expect partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures falling to the upper 70s tonight. Winds will be northwest to north at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. High tide will be this afternoon at 12:29, low tide tonight at 7:18, and a high tide again tonight at 11:46. The sun will set this evening at 5:50 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:27. And the outlook is calling for an increase in a chance of showers from tomorrow afternoon as the cold front moves over the northwest and a broad area of low pressure over the central Caribbean and Jamaica drifts west near the Cayman Islands. Fresh winds and rough seas are also expected as the pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean increases. Small craft should exercise caution from early Thursday morning.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you want to go scuba diving on your vacation, don't bedazzle your wetsuit. And you think you look great, but what you don't realize is that you look like a shiny, scaly fish. And it won't take long for a shark to notice you. Next thing you know, you're busting out every karate move you got. But if you're smart, you'll have CG medical insurance and get airlifted out to the closest hospital.
Get coverage for emergency evacuations. CG Britk. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions
Weather
including
Report
eligibility and
brought
time
to
of
you by
service.
CG Britk, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking. Change your life. Practicing forgiveness is a healthy habit.
As pastor and best-selling author Gary Chapman wrote in his book, The 5 Love Languages, How to Express Heartfelt Commitment to Your Mate, forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a commitment. It is a choice to show mercy, not to hold the offense up against the offender. Forgiveness is an expression of love.
Change your thinking. Change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning. Let's take a look at traffic. Busy traffic coming from the east, bumper to bumper on the Linford Pearson Highway, as well as on Cool Road heading to Georgetown. Traffic is steady, and steady traffic coming off of Bobby Thompson Way as well as Agnes Way. Steady traffic coming off of the Estella Tibbetts Highway continuing on to North Sound Road and the Industrial Park area. Slight delays expected. From the West Bay 4-way stop, it's flowing moderately. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue flowing in both directions moderately as well. Into Georgetown and Shedden Road looking pretty good. Out of Georgetown and Shedden Road, light to moderate traffic flow, as well as on Owen Roberts Drive. If you see any accidents or incidents, please give us a call here at Radio Cayman 949-6990. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll give you another traffic report. Have a good morning and drive safe.
It's game time, Subway fans. We're upping our sub game with the all-new Subway Series menu, an all-star lineup of 6 delicious recipes. Just order by name or number and we'll do the rest. Whether you're catching a quick lunch or just need a tasty victory, the Subway Series menu is coming in clutch. Subway Series, easy to order, hard to resist. Try it today, only at Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Cayman Islands, clear your calendars because something extraordinary is coming your way.
Ignite the Fire, hosted by Christ for All Nations, is roaring into the Lions Center from November 29th to December 3rd. Join us for an epic worship and gospel event, a monumental move of God that will transform lives and reveal destinies. Don't miss this 5-night, once-in-a-generation experience. Be a part of history in the making. Ignite the Fire, Cayman. Mark your date, November 29th to December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. nightly, and get ready for an unforgettable spiritual journey that will set your heart ablaze. Cayman and you will never be the same again.
The CFA Society Cayman Islands presents the 9th Annual Cayman Investment Forum, Thursday, November 2nd at the Kimpton Seafire Hotel. What are the threats and approaches to investing in a world which has experienced political upheaval and economic shocks in a short span of time? How do these global events impact the Cayman Islands? Radio Cayman brings Talk Today live on location during the CFA Investment Forum this Thursday, bringing you information from experts in finance and investments, AI and robotics, transformational leadership, and more. Conference tickets available at www.caymaninvestmentforum.com.
The Rotary Central Music Extravaganza is here. Saturday, November 25th at Salty's in Grand Harbor, Red Bay. Grand prize $40,000, second prize $4,000, and 6 winners of $1,000 each. Tickets now on sale through Rotary Central members, Rotary Central ticket sellers, online at eventpro.ky. Rotarian Annie Rose Scott by WhatsApp at 916-7310 in Cayman Brac. Your ticket can be the winner. Rotary Central Music Extravaganza, a major fundraiser taking care of Rotary Central community projects. Rotary Central NPO number 232, creating hope in Cayman and the world.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Mr. Loxley Banks. He's here representing the Veterans Association here in the Cayman Islands. We're talking about Remembrance Day. And before we play the other clip, Mr. Banks, anything you want to say before we lead into that?
Coming back to Remembrance Day, a period of remembrances that I think we need to do more remembering about, what the freedom and democracy that we enjoy here today cost Caymanians, who many of them have gone on before. There's still some among us who, can tell the stories. And I think there needs to be a broader educational process to get this across to those who come to live among us, who has no idea of what Caymanians really contributed to what we say, to the foundation that everybody comes in here and wants to,
And even some Caymanians who are not familiar and aware of what took place.
A lot of Caymanians, yes. And we try to do some outreach within the schools in this period of remembrance. And believe you me, the young folks are interested in listening to and learning about some of this Caymanians were involved in basically all of the, I guess you could call the great battles of World War II and even back some of World War I. Mm-hmm. Andrew Henning, who grew up on Bogsand Road in West Bay, landed on one of the Normandy beaches during World War II with the 101st Armored Division. Went all across from Normandy all across till they got to Germany. 11 months slugging through. I think he was probably involved in the Battle of the Bulge in there, and I guess that would be Denmark in that area. Mm-hmm. And so what we got here today, Caymanians paid high price for it. And then we had the guys in Trinidad, and this next cut will give us just a little idea of what that was all about. So, Sue, we can get that one up. The following is a brief, detailed word picture of the Cayman Islands Home Guard operations during World War II, as told by former Home Guard member Bob Soto. Presented by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Breeze Radio, and Radio Cayman.
Now, Bob, you were on home soil during World War II, that is, in the Home Guard. Tell us a little bit about your sacrifices and what you went through.
Well, I remember the war breaking out, and I was 13 years old, I think it was. It was only one radio in my neighborhood, and that was Uncle Sade, we called him, Truman Barton's grandfather. And all the old people would gather on the porch to hear the news from the BBC, what was happening in the war. And I used to go out and hang out with these old men to hear what was going on. I was very interested in what was going on. And then we started a campaign here to collect scrap to ship to England to help the war effort. We collected any old aluminum pots, and let's ship some cannons from the old fort back to England to use in the war effort. All the older boys, my friends who was older, became of age, and they started going off to the war, to America in the Merchant Marine, or joining the armed forces. Trinidad people went off to join the Royal Navy Reserve, and then they started recruiting for the Home Guard. I was 16 years old, and you had to be 18, but I was 6'1", so I went up there and volunteered. I told them I was 18, because I never had a birth certificate, and they couldn't prove any difference. I was born in Cuba and came here when I was 2 years old, and I never got a birth certificate until 1947. So they couldn't dispute how old I was. And I got my mother to sign that I was 18. So I got in there, and they wanted 70 men, and they could have tripled it. So I was lucky to get in there, I thought. And they recruited 70 of us. And we had a Canadian sergeant instructor. And by that time, we had a U.S. Navy base here with 50 sailors and 2 bombers stationed here doing patrol for submarines, because I seen ships get blown up right in front of Georgetown Harbor going by the submarine, and the submarine come on the surface and talk to the crew. And we never had a gun here to do anything. Some of our men went out on the Simboka to pick up the men, bring them in. We went in basic training for 3 months. We had rifles and Sten guns, call them Tommy guns or Sten gun, 30-round magazine. You could cut a coconut tree in 2 with it. We got 2 field artillery pieces, 3-inch guns, and we had a lorry truck that could move them around the island wherever we needed them if it was needed. And we had some gun emplacements in Georgetown where we kept one in the gun emplacement right next to the public school. And across the street we had ammunition dump or rifle ammunition. I did training in Jamaica with the British Army. I had 2 tours of duty over there over the years, and I took a course in artillery over there. I'd like to have been on the active army or the Air Force to do something more for the country, because Caymanians were patriotic and to the mother country, and I am still that way, even though our culture has changed over the recent years, but it hasn't changed me. I would like to see some of our younger people today step up to the plate. It's a very good thing to do, serve in the military. It taught me a lot, and I had those things that I have been a guide for my life ever since I served. We had stations, Northwest Point, Barkers, North Side, East End, Pedro Bluff, and 2 stations in Georgetown, plus the headquarters, and a central where we called in all the reports from the outer stations, and we would relay everything to the U.S. Navy. All the reports had to go to the U.S. Navy base all hours of the night. I remember one night I was working with Arthur E. Banks. He was in charge of the headquarters for central control, and I was working with him, and we had a report came in 2 o'clock in the morning that the station in Northwest Point called in. They had seen a rubber boat come in and put 2 people ashore, Northwest Point. So I went up there, and they had a little building at the gate. Man is always there 24 hours a day. And when I went there, he had a 45 out laying on the shelf with a little window like this, and he was sleeping. So I took the gun, pulled it off, and grabbed him and shook him. He jumped for the gun. I said, I got it here. I was scared if I woke him up, he would shoot me. So I said, I'm not going to tell anybody anything. So I had to go directly to the commanding officer, barracks, and wake him and give him the report, And then we all saddled up, went to West Bay all night in the mosquitoes, searching West Bay for these 2 men. Never found a thing.
The preceding was presented by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Breeze Radio, and Radio Cayman.
Mr. Loxley, that was an exciting story being told there.
That was the late Bob Soto talking about his experience in the Home Guard, and there were, I guess, probably upwards of 200 Caymanians within that Home Guard unit, and they themselves they had a struggle. They struggled to carry out their duties, because you recall there was not any really what you'd call roads back in those days. Everything was just a marl track or a rock track, and there were stories about they had a lookout point right up on the head of Barkas, and even today, it's not that easy to get up to the head of Barkas. And they had to roll their water because they would keep their water in the barrels, like the 50 gallon barrels, and they would have to either roll them up through the thicket of the Mount Pleasant area and Bottomanu area and other areas they call Dadadoos and Ferdinand and all this to get up to the head of Barkas, or otherwise put them in catboats down on the beach in West Bay and take them all the way around, because you could take them by water all the way around and come in right on the head of Barkas and load up. But, and then, and it, Bob mentioned that one of the big guns was next to you remember the schoolhouse that was right there where the dock is at now, right there in the park. That's where one of the big guns was at.
Yes. And he uses the term saddle up. It would appear as if they used horses in those days as well for transport.
I don't think so, because there weren't many horses around Cayman to begin with. But he just used that as a kind of because they had and he talked about the lorry, and I think they had one big similar to what you see the regiment running around and now. And they had one of them, and Mr. Parchment from Northwest Point or West Bay drove it. Harold Parchment, and every young kid in that era was Harold. I'm sure you did. We run around.
Yes.
Imitating
him.
With the hats, and everybody. And the lorry had a real zing to it. Zinging Harold.
Okay, we have another one, but why don't we take the commercial break, Miss Susan, and then we can prepare the next clip after that. Folks, the conversation with Mr. Lox LeBanks will continue again after this short commercial break.
Fusion. Monday to Thursday. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Fridays. Radio Cayman. Biggest variety in the morning. Aussie Fusion. Following the 10 a.m. news headline. Biggest variety in the morning.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
During or after a storm, do not take unnecessary risks like going back into a dangerous area to salvage material possessions or refusing to evacuate. Remember, things can be replaced. People cannot. Visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky for more hurricane survival tips.
The 720 AM Weather Report, Monday through Fridays, is proudly sponsored by Flow Business.
Flow, making Cayman fiber fast.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me from the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Mr. Loxley Banks. Mr. Banks, you want to lead us into the next clip?
Yeah, well, the next one is Mr. Harry McCoy. He's speaking about the Royal Trinidad Navy, the Royal Navy, which I think there was something like 250 Caymanians that served in that military unit during World War II, and he'll tell us a little bit about what that was all about.
Okay.
In this CI Retro's excerpt, during this remembrance period, the focus is on the dangers faced by the Caymanians in the UK Royal Navy Trinidad's operation during World War II. Presented by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association in cooperation with Breeze Radio and Radio Cayman.
Mr. McCoy, were you exposed to any danger at all being based in Trinidad?
Well, while at sea, yes, because doing this anti-submarine work and doing escort or convoying duties, we were exposed. Outside of the harbor of Port of Spain, it was stated that more ships were sunk just out there than any other part of the Atlantic, because convoys were brought in and convoys taken out, and the submarines just laid around there to get those ships. I've seen a number of them torpedoed. We had to go there. Our duty really was trying to sweep these there. When I say sweep, we were sweeping with anti-submarine sounding devices so as to warn ships and to try to help disable ships, you know. And I remember one ship which was being towed. We were escorting that ship when we received a signal from a destroyer, the old Churchill, saying clear the area of the target. And before we could even maneuver, that ship that was being towed was torpedoed, and the tug that was towing her almost went down. She went to where she was, I would say, probably about 35 degrees, you know, with a bow of the water. And one of the men, Ed Tatum from Northside, he's now dead, poor fellow, he took a fire axe, and where that wire was running over a bollard, one chop, and he chopped that away. Otherwise, the ship would have carried that tug down.
The preceding was an excerpt from a Radio Cayman's CI Retro program, which focused on the dangers Caymanians faced during World War II, serving in many military operations. Speaking were Doran Miller, former Radio Cayman's Deputy Director, along with Mr. Harry McCoy, former Royal Navy Petty Officer, and former member of the Cayman Islands Veterans Association. Remember, some gave some, and some gave all their lives. Get your poppy and remember. The preceding was brought to you by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Breeze Radio, and Radio Cayman.
Mr. Banks?
Well, you know, that was just a little teaser about the Trinidad guys, as I call them. And they were all young Caymanians, probably between the age of 16 and 25, I would say the majority of them. And they served well up there. And, you know, as you heard Mr. McCoy reference to, Port of Spain actually has or Trinidad, one of the largest harbors, I think, in the world. And it was used as a sort of staging ground during World War II to get supplies and whatnot across to Europe to support the war. And there were many ships torpedoed right outside of the Port of Spain. And also right around Cayman, if you look at the map, and I don't have it with me, but we got a map that shows where all the ships were torpedoed around Cayman, and it'll boggle your mind to think about all that action that was going on around Cayman. Mm-hmm. Now, in that clip, you heard Mr. McCoy make reference to Ed Tatum. Now, picture this. This tug is towing a ship. The Germans come up and torpedo the ship. The ship is sinking. And it happened so fast that the ship went down and it started to take the tug with it. Mm-hmm. And I think he mentioned that the bow of the tug was probably 35 to 45
degrees,
out of the water. Now, are you standing on probably a deck like that, and Mr. Tatum takes a fire axe and cuts away a steel cable in one chop?
Yeah.
I don't think the ordinary man could do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And to have the presence of mind to do it.
To do it, yes. And standing on a platform
at that
that's
angle.
Probably 45, 50 degrees angle.
Yeah, yes. So do we want to play the one now, Mr. Denton Henning?
Well, yes, I guess we could go on to that one because, as we went through it, we heard from Mr. Elgin Scott, which was the sort of European theatre. We heard from Bob, which was the local theatre, Cayman Islands theatre war. Mm-hmm. And then we heard from Mr. Harry McCoy, who was in the Trinidad, in the Caribbean, general Caribbean area. And this one with Denton Henning sort of covers or makes reference to the Pacific area because, there were wars going on both sides, mm-hmm. the Atlantic and the Pacific, raging, for years and years.
Yep, at the same time, yeah. Okay, Miss Susan?
In this period of remembrance, remembering those who sacrificed and those who made the supreme sacrifice gave their lives in defense and preservation of freedom and democracy, the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, in cooperation with Radio Cayman and Breeze Radio, presents this short narrative about a Caymanian U.S. naval frogman deep-sea diver exploits during World War II in the Pacific Ocean regions. In the Pacific region, there were many Caymanians serving in direct battle roles. One such Caymanian was Denton Henning, who was a Navy frogman in the U.S. Navy, making him the first professional Caymanian undersea deep diver. He participated in many dangerous underwater night missions, surveying and clearing many harbors in the Pacific Islands region to facilitate a safe landing of military personnel and materials. Henning, after the war, became a championship wrestler and later a traveling evangelist. Some of Henning's wrestling bouts can be seen online under John Paul Henning. Denton was born and grew up in the Henning Beach, Lorraine Reef location, which is now the West Bay Public Beach. Remembrance Day, Veterans Day, universal observances take place on November the 11th weekend. The poppy appeal is presently on through November the 15th, so get your poppy and wear it proudly. All funds contributed during the poppy appeal go towards elderly Cayman Islands veterans' needs. The proceeding was brought to you by the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, Radio Cayman, and Breeze Radio.
Mr. Loxley.
Yep, well, that was just a little clip from what some of the folks, the Caymanians, went through on the Pacific side of the war, which was raging parallel to the European theater. So, he was a frogman. Oddly enough, reference was made for him going up in West Bay on Henning Beach. It was said that he knew every squab hole between Northwest Point and Southwest Point. He was always fishing, and he was and actually he finished high school in St. Petersburg and was a champion long distance runner, and so I guess when he got in the Navy said, "Well, we're going to make you a frogman." It came quite natural to him. He said, "Send me down."
Yes.
So, but they're just some short narratives, relative to what Caymanians did during the fights, during the battles for democracy and freedom. Without their sacrifice and a lot of others, we couldn't be sitting here today in this air conditioning studio and talking about all of this. And thinking about today, I think that democracy is at a great peril.
Yeah. When we look at what's occurring today, that is That is so true.
And even today, you know, there are Caymanians out there serving.
Yeah. So can we talk a little bit now about the activities that will take place on Remembrance Day?
Yeah, well,
I'm sure that does Celebrate Cayman still? Are they still in charge of the ceremonial aspect
I believe,
of it?
I believe they have input in it, but it's mainly, I think, under the protocol office, and they do a good job, work hard in trying to keep everything within, between the lines, because there's a lot of participation within a short period of time there on the Sunday, which will be the 12th, I think, is when the observance takes place at the Elmslie Memorial Churchyard.
That would be on the Sunday.
Yeah. In front of the cenotaph, and even up until today, a lot of community people, families, lay wreaths in remembrance of their loved one who was actually died during World War II. And we don't really have a concise record of all those who died, but it's quite a number that, and many of them was, well, I would say most of them were, on the oceans, because a lot of them was involved in Army Transport Service, which during the war, all of those services were actually militarized, and the Admiralty, the British Admiralty ships, and Mr. Elgin Scott, I'm sure he was on one of those British Admiralty's ships, and they just and some of the other narratives that we have, Cavil Glidden was asked, did he have any fears in all of these encounters? And he, if I can recall this now, he said, no, he said, they sunk 2 ships onto me, but I had no fear. He said, and I think his commentary was, and we got into Greenock, and I went and joined the British Army. I was sent to North Africa. So, I mean, when you think of these guys, their sensitivity and quest, I guess, for democracy and to do their part, Mr. Dalkey Bodden, who was in, I guess, Bermuda or one of those islands down there, working in the oil industry, paid his way to London and volunteered for the U.S. or for the Royal Air Force.
I think he may have been. May have been in Trinidad as well. No.
He was in. It wasn't Bermuda. One was another little island down there that's involved in oil industry. Big. Okay. He was there, and I mean, back in those days, there was no television or anything like this. But I don't know if you remember it. When you went to the movies years ago, the first thing that came on was the Fox Movietone News or Paramount. They always had a presentation, probably 5 or 6 minutes of news of the day. And he was seeing all this in the theaters down there. And, he paid his way to London and enlisted in the Royal Air Force. And I think he also served in North Africa during the World War II.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
West Bay Pharmacy. Personalized medicine, customized care to meet your specific needs. Your body is unique to you. Your medicine should be too. Whether you're seeking individual-specific medication, correct size dosages, or simply better tasting medicine, ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about how compounding at West Bay Pharmacy can increase your treatment options, not only for your family, but for your pets too. West Bay Pharmacy, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sundays and most holidays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Introducing Digicell's all-new prepaid plans. Packed with more any-use data than ever before. Entertainment data for the apps you love, like Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. Plus, endless social data for Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So you're always in the know. Stay connected. Stay entertained with Digicell's new prepaid plans. Activate in the My Digicel app today. Digicel. Better connected.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of this segment of the show this morning with Mr. Loxley Banks. And Mr. Loxley, it looks like traffic is really backed up out there this morning. I don't know if there's anything unusual happening. Not aware of any road closures or anything. But again, it goes to show you the extent of the traffic that we have here in the Cayman Islands. Also expecting Dr. McField to be in the studio with me as well. Hopefully he can be here. I just want to say also that the Trade Winds newspapers in the 60s, that they carried several articles on the TR, what was it called? Trinidad
Royal Navy.
Royal Navy, TRNV as well. And I'm trying to see if I can find, some of those to share. If not, I can share them on future shows, as well. But I'm going to throw the mic back over to you for the next 10 minutes.
Well, when you think of today's world, I call it condition, today's world state, and you look at all that's happening, and just within the last couple of days, I think China released and said that they were going to increase their stash of nuclear bombs from 500 to, and they didn't give any specific. And when you think about it, Russia has 1,500 nukes, the U.S. about the same, and then of course you've got Pakistan, India, I think has about 400, and there's several other small nations, North Korea, that have got 50, 60, 70. And you think about what one small nuclear bomb did to Nagasaki and Japan. Oh, where does mankind's thinking come in to think that they need all of this destructive power?
Yeah, and then after China made that announcement, the U.S. then made an announcement to say that they now have the nuclear capability that is, I forget how many times more powerful than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima.
Yeah, and they call that the U.S. B-61-13, $700 million it taken to develop that bomb.
Mm-hmm.
360 kilotons, 24 times more devastating than the ones that was dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, which had a yield of 15 kilotons in 1945. In 1958, in the Operation Hardtack that I was involved with, we were experimenting with 3.2 megaton nukes out in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
So it just boggles your mind. I mean, the new, and this is a new nuclear device that the U.S. has got in their arsenal, or will have in their arsenal, they said it would be delivered by the stealth B-21 bomber, and that's the one that looks like a bat.
Yes.
Supposedly, it's stealth enough to get in under all of the...
Can't be detected by radar.
Yeah, but... don't believe all that. Don't believe all that because when and this has been going on for a long time. In 1959, I was involved with a project called the Quail Missile Project, and what this was, this was a missile that. And it was basically designed for the B-52s. The B-52s would carry it on their mission, and they would send the missile ahead. The missile had an explosives in it, and it was loaded with, really, I call it high quality aluminum foil. What they call it, fission. And it was supposed to scatter all in the stratosphere ahead of the B-52s and confuse all the radar.
Okay.
But, for about 3 years, that was working. But the other side overcome. They could penetrate through that. And so it's, and I think in the last, let's say over the last, I would say 48 months, but more so, I'd say 36 months, the mindset of the people who have their fingers on these triggers have changed. It was the old acronym MAD, Mutual Assured Destruction, which everybody sort of understood. But now you got people who have veered away from that, who their thinking is, let me do it first. But I don't think anybody is all that smart that they can, because any of the nuclear powers that get hit with nukes, they're going to retaliate.
Oh yeah, and they will have the ability to retaliate.
And we sit here in the middle of in the Caribbean basin, I guess you call it, and you don't hear much about what's happening on the western side of Cuba, but there's a lot of serious stuff going on.
And we don't really appreciate in 1962 how close. We came, to a possible destruction right here, on our doorsteps.
I was still in the Air Force at that time, and I got a lot of questions about what, because at that time they didn't have all the satellites up that they could zero in on Barcos Beach. What does Barcos Beach look like? What's the terrain there? And if it had matriculated any further, Barcos Beach would have been nothing but a battery of guns. And one of my cousins from West Bay, Floyd Rivers, who Dr. Mack, if he's listening, he was quite acquainted with Floyd. He was a good cricketer, and he was on the U.S. aircraft carrier Enterprise at that time, which was one of the
largest.
Yeah, the largest and most, I guess, had the most devastating power at that time. He told me, he said, we spent 15 days off of Northwest Point, laying two off of Northwest Point, just waiting for the orders. And he said, if it had to come to a firefight, we were going to put people ashore in Cayman. And he said the cap, because he could stand on the breach and look over and see Cayman, see Northwest Point. He said the captain said to him one morning, he said, "Rivers, I guess you'd like to go ashore there." He told him, "Yeah, Cap, I think I would." He said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "Well, the first thing I want to do is see if I can find me a plate of turtle meat and cornbread." So the captain said, "What?" So he explained to him and said, "Well, I don't think we're going to let you go ashore." Caymanians have served in many different roles in defense of freedom and democracy. In fact, there is a report that one of the Jacksons, actually from Bottomanu, was a captain of one of the aircraft carriers during World War II, smaller aircraft carriers.
Okay.
But we have not been able to get too much information on it, but we're still trying to collate all this stuff, and hopefully that someday the Veterans Association will have a concise record of all of the involvement of Caymanians in the defense of freedom and democracy, and all their other activities to, I guess, try to preserve the peace that I think everybody really wants to have in the world. But it's always been evading those who seek it, I guess, from you go back to biblical times.
Yeah. I guess it's a part of human nature, but do you think that we'll ever get to the stage where, some of these conflicts will be resolved in an amicable way, and we can have some semblance of world peace? And we realize that there are conflicts, all over. There's so many conflicts taking place right now on the African continent, for instance, that really is being overshadowed by what is occurring in Ukraine and what is occurring in Israel.
I think if you look back, and if you could put it all on the table and look at it, you'd probably find out that in this present day that the world is in more turmoil than it's ever been throughout its history. Because, like you mentioned, Africa, there's a lot of stuff going on over there that you don't hear much about. And every now and again, you hear a little peek of this comes out, and ooh, wow, And Ukraine, and then there's a lot of those other Eastern Caribbean or Eastern European countries, Azerbaijan, and some of them they're rattling their sabers along their borders, and so. But I guess, as the old folks say, we'll live until we die, and hopefully that's a greater experience awaiting us. It's
yep.
I guess we're coming up pretty close to the news time here, so.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you for being here with us on this, Mr. Loxley, and give you an opportunity for some closing comments in the next minute.
Sorry that Andrew couldn't be here.
Yes,
he got stuck in traffic, and I guess maybe you're still out there, Andrew. But anyway, I think there needs to be a more educational process of educating the Cayman Islands community about the sacrifice and what Caymanians did to preserve democracy, and which I'm sure everybody enjoyed the freedom that we have here today and what we have, but it came at a cost, and more recognition of that needs to be taken.
Yeah, we want to remind our listening audience also of the locations where they can make their donations and receive a poppy.
Yeah, today there'll be Veterans Association members at Foster's at the airport, and also supposedly, I believe we'll have people at Kirk's with their poppy appeal presentation, and we urge you to get your poppy and contribute to the poppy appeal. All funds that are gathered are used to support needy veterans in Cayman, and believe it or not, there are some, and we try to help them as much as we can.
Okay, folks, we're going to do our headline news. When we return, we're going to have the open mic segment for you. I'm going to check and see if Dr. McFeel is outside with us. If not, we will have our, open mic segment and talk about a few other things as well. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after headline news.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
The Health Services Authority boosts its number of speech and language therapists at the Baytown House location. Faith Aguili-Rochez and Raven Ramoon are now joined by Mariah Freeman and Janelle Sims. The All-Caymanian Speech and Language team are licensed holders of Masters of Science degrees in the field. The Rafah crossing from Gaza to Egypt has opened for the first time since Israel's siege began. At least 20 Palestinian patients and 110 dual nationals have left Gaza so far. It's thought 88 injured Palestinians and around 504 nationals will be allowed out in the first phase. In Gaza, phone and internet services are completely cut. Israel says 11 soldiers were killed in ground fighting in Gaza on Tuesday, taking the number of Israeli military killed since October 7th to 326. Israel has been bombing Gaza since the Hamas attacks on October 7th that killed 1,400 people, with 239 people kidnapped as hostages. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says more than 8,700 people have been killed since Israel's retaliatory bombing began. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
It's one of the best moments of your life when you welcome your baby into the world. The HSA's experienced women's health and maternity team provides the highest quality of care throughout your pregnancy and delivery. As a JCI accredited hospital, we are the leader in maternal care, safely delivering over 700 babies annually. Visit hsa.ky for more information. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
I am Teresa Pitcairn, the chairperson of the Cayman Islands Beautification Task Force. Derelict vehicles are not only unsightly, they also lower the quality of life in our neighborhoods and pose serious public health and safety risk. To report a derelict vehicle, please call the Department of Environmental Health on 949-6696.
Be a part of the solution, not the pollution. Littering is a crime punishable by a $500 fine or 6 months in prison. Brought to you by the Beautification Task Force and Ministry of Tourism and Ports.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio K-Man.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. If you heard any talking in the background there, unless Miss Susan put the volume down, that was Dr. Steve McPhail and Mr. Loxley. And what we have decided to do is we're going to continue the conversation, about Remembrance Day. And Dr. McPhail is familiar with some of the names. Meanwhile, while we prepare for that, I will share with you an article in the Trade Winds, an editorial actually, in the Trade Winds newspaper of the 10th of November, 1966. And the editorial, it's entitled, Lest We Forget. And it starts by saying, at 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918, the guns of the Western Front went silent and battle ceased, marking the end of World War I. And then it talks about Sunday then being the official, will be officially recognized as a Remembrance Day to honor the fallen in both World Wars, and we wish to add our reminder of the significance of the occasion, lest we forget. The editorial goes on to say that this is the all too fleeting moment designated each year as the time to remember the fallen of those two world wars, those two worldwide struggles for the survival of democracy. The dead of these wars died to preserve the things which we hold precious, and we shall forget them and their sacrifices at our peril. But this is more than a symbolic tribute to those who have gone. More significantly, it is a reminder to ourselves that our freedom and everything that derives from it have been bought with the terrible price paid in blood and tears in wars that affected the whole world, and these islands were no exception. They joined with the Allies to preserve our freedom, and we must pause to remember. We cannot change the past, though we should regret its errors. For us, only the present and the future remain. The value of looking back to what is gone lies in recognizing its mistakes and ensuring that they do not happen again. It is not enough to remember that men have died in 2 world wars as they are dying in Vietnam today. So in 1966, when it was written, the Vietnam War was taking place. It is more important and an honest tribute to them that we should remember how they died and why. And having so remembered, we the living are charged with the duty of avoiding the past errors of mankind. If we fail in this, we have betrayed the dead that we are honoring at this time. All the symbolic gestures in the world become mockery if we forget why it is necessary that we should make them. The flowers, symbolic of continued life, which we lay on the graves at this time, should be, in effect, a pledge that we are determined to shed the blindness which deceived us in the past and go forward to greater things, never forgetting that the price of freedom and democracy is eternal vigilance and a willingness to sacrifice ourselves even as they have done to preserve what is dear to us. Let us attend the Sunday services marking Remembrance Day and remind ourselves with all solemnity why we are there. What are we to remember? We must not forget. We must not fail, because in Flanders fields the poppies grow between the crosses row and row. That marked over place in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders field. Take up our quarrel with the Joe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours, we hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field. And of course that was written by John McCrae. Gentlemen, Doc, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. Good morning to you, Mr. For the Record, and good morning to all the listeners in For the Record land and those who listen to you Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and good morning to Mr. Locklear Banks. Mr. Banks, you almost made me cry when I was coming down driving, when you were reiterating all of the sacrifices that we made into making this country what it is today, and especially when you mentioned Floyd Banks, Flood Rivers. Yes, I knew Floyd. I could never win against them in West Bay. I was one of the cricketers from Georgetown. Myself and a guy called Wybert Bodden, we call him Wacho.
Yeah.
We were the fast bowlers for Georgetown, and we also played on the All Island team with Ben Sneebanks, Mr. Arthur Ebanks, not Jim Powell. Jim Powell came later. Later. And Ivan Farrington.
Yes.
Ivan Farrington, Captain Erdis, and Captain Erdis' brother, and a guy called Hudson.
Hudson.
Yes, Hudson. And all of those people. We used to play during the cricket season. Every other Saturday we would go to West Bay, and they would come down here on the other Saturdays. And I don't remember winning a game in West Bay. We could win in Georgetown, but we could never win in West Bay. The intimidation was such that we could not win. Because in those days we didn't have the football or any volleyball and all those things. We had cricket. It was the big game. It was where everybody came out on the Saturday afternoon in their best clothes to see the game. We were all dressed in whites, and we would just like the English teams. We would stop for tea, and then we'd go back to play again. And it was such a glorious time after the war. And I would say it was a time of romance and respectability, and it was not like today. It was a solemn time. And I remember the war. I remember all those people that you spoke about during the war. And I remember as a young man going down there to the where the Legislative Assembly is now. That was the field in which they drilled. I remember seeing the huge legs on these men, and they were boys then. And I remember people like CB, Mr. Wassell Johnson, Ellsworth Terry, and all of those people. My uncle was in there too, Farmer MacPhail, and I had an uncle too who was away with the Navy, Bolan MacPhail.
Yes.
Dr. Frank's father, he was in the Navy in Trinidad. I remember when they came in for rest and recreation, when they brought all the men in, and there's a beautiful book. The title is 6 to 9 Days. Is written by one of the men in the Navy, the American Navy that was billeted behind the library, and it tells the story about a Caymanian girl, and the Caymanian girl would have been a guy called Cyril Coe's daughter, one of Cyril Coe's daughter from South Church Street, and how he tells a story about how they got here. They say they were in Panama. And they were going on a special mission. They didn't tell them what the mission was. And they were all below deck for the whole voyage to Cayman. And when they arrived in Cayman that morning, they were allowed to come up on above deck, and they found that they were in this island. And he said that people like Mr. Rodder Watler and Ernest Panton came on board and stuff, and they were told them they were, I think it's Operation Mongoose.
Okay.
That was the operation, and they told them they were going to stay here and build a base here to defend the war. And he said the first person that he saw was these 6 girls on the dock. That would be the old dock. Remember the old dock where they had the old derrick?
Right.
Yeah. And he fell in love with that girl from that day. And he tells about the courtship in Cayman in those days, how you could not hold a girl's hand unless you were engaged. And he tells a story about being invited to Mrs. Cyril Coe's house, because Mr. Cyril Coe at the time was in Panama working, and his wife was the matriarch of the family, and said when they invited him to sit in the swing on the porch, that was the most happiest time of his life. And how he would come out by the post office every Saturday to see the girls when they came down there to go to the mail, and down by the library when they went to exchange books, he would sneak out and just to see them. And unfortunately, one of the generators that generated current and light to the base blew up, and he was in charge of generators and got burned up with oil, and they had to ship him off to Guantanamo Bay. And then they shipped him into Florida, and then he was corresponding with her at all this time, and they went over there and they got married. It is a beautiful story. It is one of the most best love stories that I ever read. It's called 6 to 9 Days. Everybody should try to get a copy of the book. I got that book from Joy. From the former Joy Hennings, who's now Joyce DaCosta.
Yes.
Joy DaCosta. But I remember those days. going sneaking down by the old base. One of my uncles too, Uncle Charles Barnes, he was the baker, and he would bake the breads and take them down to the base and so forth. I remember the gate at the base, and there were two notorious Americans there at the base. They called them Reed and Lambert. They were always fighting with the local home guards. And by the way, the home guards were billeted at Dobson Hall. That was their, and only at the Parson House were the headquarters for the officers. Commander Highfield from Canada. And I remember seeing all these scenes with the stun guns that you talk about and the rifles and stuff. And everybody, all the boys, them like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, wanted to be men quick to be able to put on those uniforms. I mean, those khaki uniforms with their sleeves rolled up and those stuff. And we always wanted to be like that.
Okay, Doc, we're going to interrupt you there so we can take a commercial break. When we return, a conversation with Mr. Loxabank, Dr. Steve Macfield will continue. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Can you imagine your home completely organized? At Brand Source Custom Closets, we can. We specialize in designing and building custom closets and storage units for any room in your home, including the garage. With tailored designs and custom LED lighting solutions to fit your lifestyle and budget. Our custom closets expert is committed to enhancing the value of your home with a solution that is uniquely yours. Visit our showroom or call 623-6774 to schedule a no-obligation appointment with our design expert. Brand Source Custom Closets, 209 Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old girl.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
The new KFC nuggets have arrived. That unlike the no-gets. Ours are handmade using 100% white meat, unlike the no-gets. At KFC, we hand-bread every day to achieve the perfect flavor. After you try our delicious and crispy nuggets in the original recipe, you'll never settle for less. KFC, the real nuggets. It's finger-licking good.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me still, Mr. Loxley Banks and Dr. Steve Macfield joined us as well. Before I pass the mic back over to Dr. Macfield, so also on the Trade Winds newspaper on the 10th of November, it spoke about the fact that the Remembrance Day Parade will be held. And it says, this Sunday is Remembrance Day, and a gala parade complete with ceremonial dress will be held at the Memorial Cross at Emsley Memorial Presbyterian Church at 10:30 a.m. It is hoped that all ministers on the island will take part in the special service, asking their respective congregations to observe the customary 2-minute silence from 11 a.m. Following prayer, a wreath will be laid on the memorial cross by the administrator, Mr. J.A. Cumber, honoring those killed at war. And I remember this quite well because I attended the Church of God Chapel. So right on the waterfront there, you had Emsley Memorial Church, Church of God Chapel, and the Church of God Full Gospel Hall. And we would walk, well, I would be in my Cubs uniform, and I would go there to the parade, and then after the parade, then I go to Church of God for the regular church service. Others may have chosen to remain at the Presbyterian Church and do the participate in the church service there as well. And in those days, it seems as if it may have been customary for only the commissioner to lay wreaths. Now we allow more people to do so, which is great. I know in the UK at the cenotaph there that the representatives of UKOTA, the organization that represents the overseas territories in the United Kingdom, they had to lobby strongly for them to have the ability to lay a wreath at the cenotaph there, as well. But that's my little, contribution.
Yeah. So as I was saying, let me follow on from what you were saying about the parades.
Mm-hmm.
On the 11th of November at the parade at the service, nearly every scout troops in the island was down in Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
The troop from West Bay, the troop from North Side and East End, and the troop from Bordentown and Georgetown. It was a thing to see. And then we had the police, because we didn't have any fire brigade then. Had the police, and then sometimes a warship would come in.
Yes.
And that and
they would participate.
They would participate. And I remember we had to stay in Dobson Hall the night before the parade, because Teacher McPhail and Mr. Arthur and Melna McCoy, who was the scoutmaster for Georgetown, they wanted to know that our uniforms were up to date, and our hats, the hats that we wore, the caps, just like the Navy, just like Royal Navy. Teacher McPhail would say, "I want them to see white as cloud," and he said, "I want your shoes when you put your shoes on and your belt buckle, I must stay on the other side of the street and see my face in them." We were decked out, and I mean we were spiff, and we were all, and we drilled for days and days and days, and it was a spectacle to see how we were organized in those days and the respect that we had for our environment and for ourselves. It was great to see the discipline between young men, and like I say, we knew where we were going to work. We knew that even when we went to camps, our camp was just like a ship.
Mm-hmm.
We knew all the ship terms, all the nautical terms. We knew all the knots and stuff. We had to work for badges, and I had nearly every badge that you could think about.
And when you went to camp, you had a whole watch and all of that.
You had a whole
well.
watch
Yes,
and things like that. Yes, you had to hold watch and things like that. It was a great era of discipline and so forth. And even when that was over, even when I went away, I thought about joining the military because I missed that discipline that we had. So, Caymanians, we talk about the sacrifice. A lot of people, young people and people don't even know about it. I remember my grandfather sitting on his porch, and we had an old Victrola, an RCA Victrola with the big old horn and the dog on the side.
On the crank.
You had to crank it up and put on.
Yep.
And I remember him putting on this record. I think it was keep putting this record onto the Victrola. But it went something like this. It is the same old story. We fight for love and glory, but the world will always be a something.
We'll always welcome those.
Welcome those lovers, so forth.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there waiting for the news to come on, waiting for we had an old helicopter radio, and waiting to come on, and he was sitting on the porch and he was worried about his sons abroad, Uncle Baker, Uncle Bulla, and all those and stuff. And he was singing, "When the lights go on again, all over the world, and the boys come home again." I went, say my grandmother said, "Pop singing," because you never heard him singing because he was always very stoic, and you didn't know what he was thinking. And that was when the war was over. Had ended, and that was a big thing when the war had ended.
Oh yeah.
And you talk about the torpedoing. I was there, and I was young, bringing sheets and stuff down to the town hall from my grandmother's house and my mother's house for the men that were all burnt, and so forth. It was an awful time in Cayman. You had to stay certain time of night with your lights off. You couldn't burn your lamp. The lights, the old parlor, the old light plant would come on at 3 o'clock in the evening, go off at 9 o'clock at night, and so forth. And I remember the big old lorry, the big old trucks, and I remember Mr. Parchment and all those people,
Harold.
Mr. Harold,
Yeah.
and I remember those men marching all the way from Georgetown to Bodden Town with those knapsacks on their backs, with their guns on their shoulders and stuff. It was such a different time from today. And you talk about, you were talking about the deterrence. That's the reason why we didn't have wars for such a long time, Mr. Loxley. But today, there is no international law now.
No.
It's for the strong, and but to see how we survived, Mr. Loxley, we survived First World War, Second World War, how we survived the mosquito key days
and the depression.
And we survived and made those contributions that you talked about. I can see them now, and I don't know why someone hasn't made a documentary about those days, about the Caymanian contribution, so that people could actually see it and say they're talking about it. Because when you talk about it and you write it down, people don't pay attention to the writing.
Yeah.
Maybe Mr. Loxley, since you were still with the radio station, maybe you could conjure up some funds from sometime to make a documentary about those days.
Well, maybe we can get Flowers involved with it.
Yes.
The young Flowers there.
Yes,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes.
Because, like you mentioned, there's a need for a great educational process to take place.
Yes, sir.
To sensitize the folks that we got here that has come in here and help build on the foundation that the guys that we're talking about set, sacrifice and preserved it here. And I think a lot of the information is contained in many of the programs that Radio Cayman have done over the years, and it would be a huge undertaking for somebody to cull through all those things and pull out, all the relevant parts and put it together in some kind of documentary process. But maybe somebody will come along. I probably don't have that much time ahead of me to.
Yes, me too. And Sir Aldin McLaughlin's uncle.
Yeah.
Who played an important part in the Navy and in Jamaica after the Navy.
Yes.
He writes a book, I think he called The Forgotten Men of the Navy.
Yes,
and he tells a story about a young man, Rivers, who was what they call the sound engineer on the warship, and on the minesweeper or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he told the captain when the ship was coming in the harbor, there are two engines. There's another boat, and the captain said, "How's that possible?" And he says, "Captain, there is another engine coming in the harbor with us." And the captain almost told him that was impossible because they had an iron curtain in the harbor to keep submarines out.
This was in Trinidad, but they came in under the shadow.
They came in under the shadow of the boat underneath. they came under the ship, and that young man from West Bay who was the operating that sound system, whatever it was, sonar, and they didn't believe him, and the submarine came in there and torpedoed some ships right in the harbor, and Mr. McLaughlin talks about a torpedo not exploding and run right up on the deck. Yes,
and that's a great book.
So it's a great book.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know I had a copy of it, but it might have went during I-1. But I know there's some still floating around, and maybe some entity could get that and reprint it, because it was a great book of
That's
the
right.
Trinidadian Navy.
The journey.
Yeah.
And out of that came our first wireless operator in Cayman, Mr. Christian.
Yes.
Mr. Dudley Christians, and I forgot what his name now. He brought home a wife from Trinidad, and then that he married when he was down there in the Navy. So I have a lot of that stuff documented. I tried to accumulate a lot of that literature, a lot of that history. I don't know too much about the American theater, because remember, it was hard to get news from America in those days, unless the ships came in, and then the ships were not venturing out and that part of the harbor. But you talk about the convoy.
Doc, I'm going to interrupt you there so we can go to our commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Get ready for more with Digicell's all-new prepaid plans. More any-use data to browse. Entertainment data for Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. Plus, stay connected with endless social data for Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. With Digicell's new prepaid plans, you'll never miss a beat. Activate in the My Digicel app today. Digicel. Better connected.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
It is that time of the year when we at Puritan Cleaners remind our customers of the services we offer on drapes and all household items. Standard prepaid discounts apply. Call us today at 949-7104, Georgetown and Savannah Countryside. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record in the studio with me, Dr. Steve Macfield, Mr. Lox LeBanks. We have a caller on hold. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Looks like the caller hung up. So, gentlemen, sorry for the interruption, but we had to go to the commercial break. Our next one will be at 9:45. That will be our last commercial break. Doc, over to you.
Mr. Loxley, we also had a German spy here too.
Oh, there you go.
Yes, but how did he get on the island?
Well, what we've been able to gather, he actually came here. You know, the Germans sent a few voyages in here pre-World War II because they were trying to chart all of the territories in this area. In fact, Captain Bush, what was his first name? You know, the famous captain down in South Sound, Captain.
Yes,
Yeah, he shipped on one of them, and it's a great story about him, his journey, because the ship that he was on, this German ship, was actually surveying and planning to blow up the Panama Canal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there was another old captain from West Bay, Captain Donald Borden, who, well, he spent most, I would say, 70% of his life in the U.S. But I was acquainted with him in the early 50s, and he told me some stories. He worked. I don't think this wasn't a German ship, but he worked with the U.S. back in, this would be the late 20s as captain, because they were also interested in knowing what all the territories, how they were surrounded, the shelves and all this stuff, because it was all, they were preparing for submarine warfare and all this stuff. And there's so many aspects that Caymanians have participated in. In fact, one of my aunts is old captain from Captain Borden. His daughter had a set of, I guess the old folks call it crock rib of China.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Whatever the entity was back in those days gave him in remembrance of this work that he did.
Okay. I believe the caller has rejoined us. Let's grab him now. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Greetings, Uncle Steve. This is David. All right. Sir, I heard you mention, I just turned on the radio on the way to work. I just heard you mention about the first fellow wireless operator.
Yes.
That's my grandfather, Leighton Christian.
Okay, yes, okay.
Yeah, that's Mr. Leighton Christian. And for all of you listening in right now, we got some legends here. I'm speaking to one right now. That's you, Uncle Steve. Respect, sir. And the other gentleman, respect, sir. And there are still some of us who come from some serious backgrounds here. So when y'all see us on the road, and we pay you respect, it'd be honorable for you to pay respect back. And in light of what's going on with, you're talking obviously about war situation, sir. Is that the conversation this morning?
Well, we're talking about Remembrance Day and the sacrifices that were made during World War I and World War II, yeah.
Okay, sir. Well, I'll tell you what. This is where Uncle Steve and I might agree to disagree. But I myself, I'm a Rastafarian. I'm an Afro-Caymanian. All right, there are different types of us. And I'm very proud to be so. So I'm saying that to say this. I am not pro... Muslim or Islam or anything like that. I'm not anti-Islam or anything like that either. I'm not anti-anybody. But while you're speaking of such situations, we all should be reminded that the whole world is sitting back while the Palestinians are being literally genocided, slaughtered right now in that conversation of war and what have you. And I think it's something kind of ironic because everybody jumped up and down about the Ukraine, but no one seems to care about those people. And again, I'm not a Muslim. That's for darn sure. And I'm not anti-Semitic, and I don't know how Jews are Semitic anyway because they're white. Anyway, we'll leave that at that.
Okay.
Good day.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you very much, yes.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen.
Getting back to Mr. Leighton Christian, he worked, because the old wireless station was sitting right on the where Radio Cayman sits right here.
Yes, and that was initially operated by the Cubans.
Yes.
They used to call it the Guerra Bureau.
Yeah. It was set up here, I think, during the early 30s.
In 1933 or something like that. It was set up here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw the other day the name of the Cuban who was here operating it. I forget his name. I'll find that.
I have photographed that in my office.
Okay.
My office is like a museum. I have photographed that in my office of the crowd when it opened.
Yes.
When it opened, yes.
You know, there's a funny story about, the ship launches back in those days. The vessel launches was big,
Oh,
big
yes.
thing.
Yes.
And, the weather station here told the folks who, I'm not sure whether it was the Archers or whether it was the Bawdens who was launching this boat, they say, you better be careful because there's something brewing up here. Well, they looked up and they didn't see anything around, and they said, no, we're going to go. And I think it was the Arbutus.
Yes.
They launched the Arbutus one day, and the next morning she was back on the shore.
Yes.
And that was during that period.
Yeah. There's a photograph that the museum spoke to me about several months ago. I think they have the names of them now, of a launch in Northside. And the launching, the boat was built by Will Banks.
Will Banks, yeah.
Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will Banks Miller.
Yeah.
And in the picture is about 3 or 4 musicians. And one of them I know is Nicodemus, old Nicodemus Brown. And he's playing the fiddle. And there's another gentleman playing the guitar and one playing the drums, and they want to know the names of them. I only knew Nicodemus Brown. I didn't know the names of the other 2 participants. But that was a big thing. The musicians made money by playing all day with the launching. And I don't know. I don't understand. I mean, I knew it was the age of elegance and romance and so things like that. But everybody came out in their best clothing,
full
suit, and the women were dressed to the tail.
Yeah. They call it the Sunday best.
Sunday best for this launching, and the men would chalk it up, and they would grease up the launch pad, and then they would put the block and tackle, and they would pull the lines, and just as she was going into water, they would have a woman to go up there and bless her with a bottle of champagne.
Yeah, right on the bow.
Right on the bow. And there were different launching places around the island. One of the launching ramps, one of the places is right where across from this restaurant with the guitar. What's its name again? On South Church Street.
Yeah. Hard Rock,
right across from Hard Rock. One of the launching places was right where the Wattlers terminals now. They were launching between the Presbyterian Church and where the Dart building is now there. And one of the launching pad was right across the street from where the Burger King.
Yes.
Right across there where the Bawdens launched their boat. Whitehall Bay. Whitehall Bay. And I have some pictures too of one of the places where they careen the ships.
Yeah, right off of Whitehall Bay.
Right off Whitehall Bay, and another place was called in the North Sun was called
up in Duck Pond.
Duck Pond.
Yes.
Duck Pond, where they would put the ships up on the reef, and strip the bottoms and repaint it and launch it again, relaunch it again,
and pull it down on the other side and
on the other
repaint
side.
Okay, gentlemen, let's take that last commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
So much happening so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my health care instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I go in flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old girl.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Radio Cayman News.
Today's outcome confirms our reputation as a well-regulated jurisdiction.
A change in court dates for two men charged with last month's murder.
Men remain in custody in Northward and are expected to return to court in November.
Officers responded to a report of a collision involving two pedestrians and a Honda Fit.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of this exciting show this morning, talking about Remembrance Day and a lot of reminiscing, and we're getting a lot of Caymanian history, as usual, coming from Dr. Steve MacPhail, and then on the military side, more of it from Mr. Lox LeBanc as well, who served in the United States Air Force, as well. So, gentlemen, the mic is yours until 10 o'clock.
Mr. Loxley, I have been trying to advocate for years and years now. I'm trying to preserve some of our heritage and trying to have an example of all of the accomplishment, the things that we did. We were a great shipbuilding nation, country, one of the smallest countries in the island, in the Caribbean, but had the largest amount of ships. That's what the history says. When you go to the archives and you read it, it says we were one of the richest islands in the Caribbean at one time. We built over 400 schooners, 400 ships, even ships that were not belong to us. We built the trawlers,
minesweepers.
The minesweepers that the British government commissioned us to build. And then we tried to preserve one of the last ships, one of the fastest schooners in the world, the Goldfield. Now the owners of the Goldfield, the Wattlers, they had three ships. He built three ships: the Goldfield, the Gold Medal, and the Klondike.
Yeah.
There was an attempt to bring the Goldfield back from California, I think where
Washington,
where it was, and then it got mired up into a lot of politics and so forth, and as a result of that, some selfish people just abandoned the Goldfield up in the North Sound, and the remnants of her is on the bottom of the Salt Creek or someplace in the North Sound.
I forget what anyway, right across from the Foster's, Foster's Food Fair there.
Yes,
right
back there.
Yeah.
I have been trying to advocate to raise funds to build a Goldfield too. And some people were interested. I was speaking to Mr. Heber Arch and Godfrey if it could be done. And he says, yes, it could be done. It would be a little expensive, but probably would be cheaper to buy a ship that's already built from Nova Scotia, one of those shipbuilding places and stuff. And but that would defeat the whole purpose.
Yeah, that'd be too vanilla.
Yeah. So, and then when Mr. Ira Walton was alive, and we were trying to get this done, he said he would, if he would build, he would rig it for free. And we were then trying to put together something called a Goldfield Foundation. You think that's possible? And there are a lot of places where you could build it, so tourists could see the scale of both building scales. There would be no problems of buying the material, of buying the cedar and the mahogany and stuff, and we could use a lot of the hardwood here.
Okay.
You think that
Well,
would be...
I think it's possible, because when you think back on our forefathers, there wasn't anything that they thought that was not possible. So if we get some of those minds together presently, yeah, it could be done. Like Mr. Arch said, it'd be an expensive thing, but what do we have in this economy here?
Yeah, we spent more money on things less important than that.
Yes.
Let's see if we can squeeze one more caller in before we close off. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Locklear, and Mr. O.C. and Dr. Steve.
Good morning, sir.
I'm not going to, I know I don't have much time to take my call. My father was one of the 4 carpenters on the gold field. I have a copy of a register that was given to me, and my mother was guest of honor at the presentation by Dr. Bill Rudy, when he built that model, and my old friend Bernard Water was there, and so forth. And my mother wept when we took her to see the gold field. She's still tied up the barge by my brother Ernest and Sonny Van Dixon tied her up, and that's what saved her for quite a while. It's time people know these things in the sound here. It's gone down and rotted, and they could have done something about it. I'm not going to go into that with you talk with Mr. Heber and all that. I did speak to him also. There really is no interest in preserving our culture. We may say it, we may talk about it, and have a picture taken, and speaking about it, and what there really is none. It's just to talk and boast, I guess. There are lots of things I could talk about with my father and other Caymanians with their contributions during the Second World War. There are many Caymanians with my father there doing things for the British, and my father got commendation for that. And we have a copy of the letter and so forth. And I've often spoken of this to the officials in the government there, but they have never returned or promised to call me back and get some information from me. I'm not going to live forever. No, neither are any of you gentlemen here, as we know we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very disappointed that no one has bothered to try to get in touch with me, because it's some very important information concerning that. You talked about the wireless thing. My father often talked about that when Commissioner Cardinal got and tried to get support, and he did, for funding for that radio station or weather station. And he often talked about Commissioner Cardinal taking 40 pounds of his own money and starting it. And my father talked about the 5 pounds he gave and others gave in town also. And like I say, there's a lot of people not mentioned when we're talking about history of what we did, the Second World War, in particular the First, and so forth. And it is great that you gentlemen are talking about that. We should teach it in our schools. We taught it in schools and as in school, but of course it was taught. Those are different, very, very different days from now. But it's important we know, as you said, Mr. Loxley, freedom comes at a great price, a very great price. And those gentlemen, Caymanians we're talking about today, paid a price. Few are still alive and so forth. But it behoves us to try to remember the sacrifice that they made. As I said, they had my number. The governor had it a couple of times. I'm pretty sure those up there, the officials and the government in town.
So, caller, my question to you, would you, based on the materials that you have, would you be prepared to share those with the archives? Because, Doc, I've heard you speak in the past about the fact that, these documentations, the archives will take them. You would remain the owner of those documents, but they will preserve them, for you, so that
yes, and you couldn't get them printed without the permission
of the archives.
Yes, archives. Sir, let me ask you this: would you be prepared to join some other Caymanians who are interested in preserving their history and their culture? Would you be into some sort of a historical foundation that we can get these things printed? Would you be interested in that, sir?
I am more than interested, but I'm not joining any association. I'm sorry. I will provide these things free of cost. I want no copyright. I want nothing. A lot of it is, I can remember my father telling me, much of it I hadn't written down, but some things I have on paper, and like his copies of his master's license, his shipwright's license, he had both. His commendation, all that, we can get that from King George VI for his services to the British government during the Second World War. I think there are a few other Caymanians might have had those too. All the things Captain Bonnet Dixon, and there are things that, we can talk about, and I can tell people. I'm more than willing to tell them about the gold field and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And anyhow, I'm more than willing. They have my phone number. They can call me if they so choose.
We'll bear that in mind, and we'll place more emphasis on that as well. Caller, thank you very much, gentlemen. I want to give both of you an opportunity for some closing comments. Doc, you first, and then since we're talking about Remembrance Day, then we'll give the representative from the Cayman Islands Veterans Association, let him have the final say.
Well, I'm so happy that you asked me to come on today, and I wanted to continue talking about Remembrance Day. because we
had other plans, but
it's one of the eras that dare to me. It's the era where I felt more comfortable in my life. Some people say it's nostalgic to go back there, but there's a time in your life when you have to sit and you have to think about where you came from, how you got here, and where you're going. I came from that era. I came from that place. I knew those men. I was at their feet. I followed them. And now I stand on their shoulder, and I am so happy that I was born in that era. I don't know if I could have survived today, because the hypocrisy and the backstabbing and the disturbances and all the killing and the disrespect for human life. I'm not into all that. Mm-hmm. I try to take refuge in the age that gave me strength. And that's the reason why I'm so happy that you asked me to come on here with Mr. Loxley today. Mr. Loxley is a great man. I always admire him, and he's one of the few people who keeps the history and the culture alive, and I really appreciate to be his friend.
Okay, Mr. Loxley.
Well, I appreciate being your friend too. Goes way back.
Yes.
An old part on the ground here.
yes.
But yeah. We have not done enough. We're still not doing enough, even though, we have a cultural ministry and we've got a cultural policy. I'm not sure whether it's being updated. It was created 6-7 years ago, and I guess it's on the shelf somewhere. And there are, work being done in the process to preserve our culture, and so that those coming behind us can learn about it, and those who have come to live among us can be sensitized to it. Because if we forget where we come from, we're not going to really know too well where we want to go or how to get there. And it's important. And, I would say many governments in the past have not placed enough sensitivity to that process as they should have. And hopefully that presently there'll be a greater emphasis placed on getting these things in place to where they can be preserved. And Remembrance Day would be a great time to start this accelerated process.
Yes.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank both of you very much. I want to thank all of our listeners, those persons who called in as well. Let me remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are. And I urge you, ask you, extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So have a great day. Continue to support your radio station. Join. Who will be our guest hosting for Sterling today, Miss Susan? Is it Kathy Miller again? If it's not Kathy, it may be Mr. Racing, whomever is guest hosting. Join them. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.
Radio Cayman.
The voice.
The heart. The soul of the Cayman Islands.